What up, guys? Another texturing tutorial for you, but in this one we're going to kind of switch up our workflow a little bit. I do have another video linked to on YouTube. It's a guy that talks about the Blizzard way of painting textures, which is beautiful uh, sort of workflow, and you can get some really nice results as you see. But so if you don't like listening to my voice, you can listen to his instead. And, by all means, feel free to. He starts on the actual technical side of it at about like 5 minutes in, and then he kind of does like a speed paint after that for the actual act of painting. But I'm just going to show you the quick way to get in there and setting up Photoshop like that to start painting. All right, so I make my object. And if you go to my, let's close that down. I'm going to go back in my modeling because I did this right after the texture painting tutorial, and for that one you need to go into rendering. So I'm going to open up my UV editor. You'll see all our UVs are perfect. They're all laid out on the grid from 0 to 1. And so we're ready to bring this over to our external program. And there's two ways of doing this. Sorry, I shouldn't have closed the UV editor. The first one is going into object mode. You can't do this in Vertex and any other mode. You have to go into object mode, and then you can go to, where is it? UvSnapshot. And so this is basically going to take a picture of this UV map and then bring that and it'll bring that in. I always like to do a PNG so you can get some alpha transparency, so you can put this on a layer above where you're painting so you can see it. Course materials, let's see, sphere, test. Sure, sounds fantastic. Apply and close. So you usually click the browse button, but it's all the directory is already set up for me, and then you just navigate to wherever you want to save the file. And then here you're doing your dimensions of the texture, and remember, we want to keep this in a power of 2. So 2048 is great, 1024 is great, 512, 256, like 128, like all those values are fine, but as you're familiar with pixels now, the more pixels you have, the more detail you're going to be able to get. So I'm going to do 2048 for now. That's pretty good. Apply and close, and then you'll see that it made on our little script editor. It has the destination file path. So in Photoshop, I can just go to File, Open, and then I think that was in Desktop, Course Materials, Sphere, Test. There we go. Open that up. And this will let you see it better if I go ahead and, well, I'm in the wrong mode. I'm in 3D right now. If I go back into Essentials, and I can get my Paint Borkit tool. Excuse me, I don't want to die group. There you go. And so there you go. You have it right there. And I'm going to start painting some nice colors. Oh, yes. This is beautiful. This is exactly what I've always wanted in the world. And of course, you have to have your model all UV'd and laid out on the grid, because this is like what we're looking at, right? Or this is basically the bottom of that sphere, the top of that sphere, and it's been unwrapped. And so I am going to now that I've painted this up exactly how I want it. You gotta go. Beautiful. I'm gonna file save as. Please put a little bit more effort than that into painting them up. It'll be very good for you to understand exactly how much work goes into some of these nicer models we're going to look at in class. I'm going to save this out as PNG. There we go. Boom, right there. And to now see that on our object, you're going to want to go into Material Attributes. And you'll see here it's probably going to be Lambert 1, and that's Maya's default shader. We don't want to overwrite the default shader with like weird stuff, because if I go into the color right now and then click on this little checkerboard and then go into File and then navigate that over to desktop, course materials, sphere painted. You'll see it works. Definitely works. 100% works. However, now that go back to the material attributes. Now that we overwrote the Lambert 1 shader, every time you make like a new object, since Maya just applies that Lambert 1, it's going to also apply it to that object because that object has the same shader. So I always like to, when I'm doing this kind of stuff, I like to go in and assign a new material. And Lambert's like one of the most basic shaders that you can have, but we want I'm gonna do Fong because then you get that specularity, those specularity options down there, and you can see that I can like kind of crank that up and like mess with all that value, and so yeah, that's pretty much it. And then I'll plug in our nice painted map in the same way I did it for the Lambert shader. And then you go to File, and then just point it to that same file path, and there you go. So yeah, that's how you do it, guys. And then I'm gonna make one more small tutorial that shows the 3D Paint features in Photoshop, and that's coming up. Thanks for watching.